Hello, my name is Tafaray Casas. Before that, my name was Benjamin Fuchs, and then before that, it was just Ezequiel Abel Casas. I'm 22 years old. I am an adoptee from Peru, from the Villa Salvador region of Lima. I'm an international adoption, as I said before, and I grew up in Berkeley, California, and I spent some time in South Carolina, which was interesting. Two very different places to grow up for somebody really trying to get into the swing of United States culture and race relations. Is really skipping from a place where people didn't even know really what I was. They thought I was like Alaskan or Chinese or something, and the bowl cut didn't help. But yeah, you know, to coming to here and being just really flooded with all this stuff, there's a lot more cultural things, and I really got a sense more of, you know, what it means to be Peruvian, if it means anything at all. My family is from the village of Muquiayo, outside of Huancayo. In the Junin district of Peru. So we are farmer class. That's been a big part of my adopted identity recently, is that I've connected with them. I studied abroad and spent a lot of time with them and developed a really strong connection that has put a lot of things in perspective for my life. My adoption took place in Lima. The story of my adoption is actually really interesting too, because it really exposed a lot of the really legally gray areas. And having come into Peru Camp, I learned a lot more about, you know, how a lot of adoptions went very differently. Some of them went very, you know, really legitimate, really kosher. Others of them, you know, were like, oh, you know, she just got dropped at a bus stop, or there was a shady lawyer who disappeared. That happened to me. My birth certificate was somewhat forged to facilitate the adoption. So I am Andino, obviously. Probably some Asian in me. I wouldn't be surprised. Cultural background, that's the interesting question. I always felt at a crossroads, or not even really at a road at all, because I was, you know, grew up with a white mother, but I had to interact with this culture that always wanted to put me in a box, and I didn't have time or energy to really define myself. And so the culture of hip-hop has really solidified me in my standing as a citizen, not just as a Peruvian, but as a world citizen, where you don't have to do a checklist of things to be hip-hop. You know, I could go out and breakdance in the middle of the Netherlands and people would know what I'm doing. I could go to my village in Cusco and there'd be some guy who'd know what I'm doing. And I think that's very beautiful, and that's, you know, that's something that I really embraced, because I've always had this conflict of where do I fit in. And I would say outside of hip-hop, this right here is my culture. Like, I always look forward to these things. I live with my mom. It's just me and her, really. We do have some family, but we're sparse. Back in Peru, I have a lot of family. I'd have to say that's the first time I really felt like a part of a big family. You know, my mom we don't really have relatives around too much. So that was a good experience to actually like have to sleep 5 to a bed for one night, and like have to deal with my little sister kicking me in the face because we slept like sardine style. And, you know, like, it was cool. I went to college at Occidental College, graduated with a film degree. I'm currently a receptionist because it's a recession. I'm looking to really travel a lot, get really good with martial arts and breakdancing. I want to go to Peru and teach self-defense to women in the Andes, because there was one night in Peru, this guy was beating his wife, and I knew martial arts at the time. I'm a brown belt in Gosokuru karate. You know, like, I wanted to go stop this, and my uncle stopped me. And so when I talked to my aunt later, she said the two things that really put women in a socially inferior position is, one, no access to money, which is changing a lot more, which I'm very glad about. But the other thing is just really this, you know, the physical thing. And it's really, you know, I think that's what I want to contribute, is like, I like to see strong women. I really respect them. And, you know, I'd love to see that handed down. What's the most unique thing about you? I would say, honestly, that we're all really unique in our stories. When people think of, you know, the Latin American identity, or identity in general, when it comes to ethnicity, or they always really look us over. And the adopted community really provides a really great insight. You know, we're kind of insiders and outsiders at the same time. You get 5 adoptees going to one, you know, a Latin American function and come out with 5 completely different perspectives on it. So I think that it's just the most unique thing about all of us, and not just us at Nuestra Herencia, all of us around the world. Where do you live right now? I live in Berkeley, California still. Planning to live there as long as I can, until maybe moving to Cusco or something like that, which would be bomb. Where are you on your life journey? How do you feel about your adoption experience? Right now, I am, as I said, I'm working as a receptionist. I'm trying to save up money to go back to Peru hopefully for the long haul. I don't really feel like I need a lot of money. I'd rather just help people out and learn a lot more. What are you doing to give back to the community? Nothing right now, because I don't feel like I have the power to help out the United States community. Especially as an adoptee, you know, people are so used to these rigid boxes, is that when I step in, they have certain expectations about me, whereas I feel like in Peru, I would just be, yeah, I mean, he's the weird kid from the United States, but it's not like he's out of the woodwork German dude that's also in Cusco, you know? How am I making a difference? I would just say, scratching and surviving, really trying to making my own way. I personally believe that individual, internal growth is a lot more healthy than a lot of external work, because I see a lot of these activists and they're tired and they're really just depressed. And I just say, you can't help anybody if you're still sick. If you're unbalanced, you can't really help anybody out. And so I'm giving back to the community of me, because if that's not settled, then, things aren't going to go well. And, especially with my adoption, really, I needed to really iron out a lot of things before I went forward, especially in regards to race relations and my own sanity, in a certain sense, my own cultural sanity, where I really just reached this point where, I didn't feel anywhere. I didn't feel really comfortable anywhere. Now I've really reached this point, with the hip hop and, this community really just bridging this gap, bridging this hole that's been inside me for a very long time.